Welcome to One Tough Puff! Whether you're new to the Kirby franchise or you're familiar with your favorite pink hero, this is the panel for you. So, get things started. I gotta introduce myself. My name is Faiza, but y'all can call me Faye. I am an artist based in the DMV. I recently got my BFA in visual arts just this past December. I've been a Kirby fan since Amazing Mirror came out for the GBA, so truth be told, I didn't know that King Dedede was an actual character until I watched the anime and got into Squeak Squad. Please don't attack me. I work as an art tutor, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Hive. These are my social media accounts that I usually use. Now, 2022 marks the 30th anniversary of the Kirby franchise, and we have seen our favorite pink hero grow throughout his many numerous adventures. Whether it's pretty much stopping a penguin from wreaking havoc, or taking down manifestations of darkness incarnate, there's just no stopping your favorite pink puff. And he has the rogues gallery to show for it. So many villains. But hey, every great hero needs an entire roster of them. But sometimes you may wonder, you may ask yourself, just who the heck is Kirby? Like, if I like talking about him, then you might as well, hear from me. So, Kirby is our titular protagonist. He is a pink puff who loves to eat, spit things out, use copy abilities to his advantage, take down the darkest of demonic entities, actually eat cake, and sleep. So, inside beats the heart of a warrior with the mind of a baby. Along the way, there are many other characters, such as King Dedede, the self-proclaimed king of Dreamland, who always wants to clobber that there Kirby no matter what it takes, and Meta Knight, who owns the Halberd, one of the best ships in the series, and if you probably Brawl, obviously my favorite stage, and Bandana Waddle Dee, who also just so happens to work with King Dedede, but also makes time to hang out with Kirby in his many adventures. The whole series takes place in Popstar, which is a magical planet far away into the galaxy. There's many other galaxies and planets out there, but we'll also talk about that. And when I say the series took a village, it took a whole company to pull it together. So these are just some of the most notable faces, including but not limited to Masahiro Sakurai, the creator and director of the Kirby games, who pretty much went from Kirby's Dreamland, from the original Kirby's Dreamland all the way to Air Ride. The late great Satoru Iwata, who was producer and former HAL president before becoming the president and actually CEO of Nintendo. There's Shinya Kumazaki, who is the current director. There's Shigefumi Kawase, who is the current producer, as well as Masayoshi Tamimura, and of course the composers that have contributed to the sound of Kirby. Jun Ishikawa, Hirokazu Ando, Shogo Sakai, Tadashi Kagami, Yuki Shimuka, Yuta Ogasawara, and Magui Mahara. So it's a little bit of a roll call. So to kick things off, every story has to have a beginning, so I might as well tell it. So it's 1991, and Nintendo pretty much came out with the Game Boy at the time, but they were actually looking for a game that anyone can enjoy, no matter what age they are. So it's pretty much led to a teenage Sakurai to take on the job and proposed a game that would be suitable for beginners. And eventually, the project began as Harukaze Popopo before it became Twinkle Popopo. So he went from Popopo of the Winds to Twinkle Popo with the placeholder sprites, which meant to be a secondary character. Eventually, the developers grew fond of the little sprite and pretty much bumped them up to protagonists, and that became the basis for Kirby. So yeah, this is some of the colleagues at the time, including a very young Satoru Iwata, Masahiro Sakurai, and two of their colleagues, Seki and Kaneda. Originally, they had used the Twin Famicom, which was hooked up to a scroll for input. The keyboard was on screen, so it was a little bit of a hassle to toggle between the two. So between the Famicom and the trackball. And this is one of the early screens for the series. It starts out like that. Eventually it'll evolve. This is the original design for Popopo. You can see that it's a little bit there. He doesn't have his whiskers. He has a little bit of ankles, but you also see some concept art, including some stages that may become familiar later on in this series. Wispy Woods. Eventually, Twinkle Popo became Hoshinokabi, or aka Kirby the Stars, and the name, a common belief is that the name came from John Kirby, a defense attorney who helped Nintendo in their case against Universal Pictures over the copyright of Donkey Kong. So it was a nice way for Nintendo to pay homage for the guy that literally saved the company. But there's also some debate that Masahiro Sakurai wanted Kirby to be pink, whereas Shigeru Miyamoto wanted him to be yellow. But yeah, the Game Boy is like, screw that, we're gonna make him white. Why not? And because the Game Boy couldn't handle color, it was basically no backlight. It was basically green screen. If you play it, you know it. And with that commences the early adventures of Kirby. To kick things off is the game that started it all, Kirby's Dream Land in 1982. This is the first title, the very first one in the franchise, which sees players inhale enemies, spit them out, and fly above obstacles. So the objective is pretty simple. You have to collect sparkling stars across 5 different areas, including especially Wispy Woods. You actually get one from Wispy Woods, but also this also the one that pretty much gave y'all your favorite stage, Green Greens, and the iconic theme to accompany it. This actually introduced Bomb and Mike Kirby despite no copy abilities being used, so that's a nice little start. It brought many enemy mainstays, such as Waddle Dees, Bronto Berts, Gordos, so many Gordos, and much, much more, and of course you have to fight King Dedede at the very end. So Kirby's Adventure. So this is Sakurai trying to amp it up a little bit in terms of offering a little bit more variety. So in doing so, he introduced a copy ability mechanic. There's 24 in total. You have to collect 7 pieces of the Star Rod in order to restore the Fountain Dreams because for some reason, King Dedede could not mind his own business. This pretty much saw the inclusion of everyone's favorite rival, Meta Knight. My favorite rival, actually, and pretty much brought a lot of different games and sub-games, such as Crane Fever, Egg Catcher, Quick Draw, and Versus Boss, which would later become like the sort of boss rush mode that would be commonplace in the games. But this also were the beginning where the Kirby's games started to use an acronym, like a secret message. So for this game, it was a reverse of Roy G. Biv, which obviously is a nice little mnemonic for Rainbow, and you fight Nightmare. We upgraded, y'all. Then comes Kirby's Dream Land 2, which is the second of the Dream Land saga, which saw different directors, Shinichi Shimomura, and pretty much introduced the good or bad endings. So the main objective is pretty much tag along with animal friends, Rick the hamster, Kind the fish, and Ku the owl. And this pretty much allowed for different techniques with each copy ability. And man, there's a lot going on in this game. I'm not going to mention it for the sake of time, but you basically square off against dark matter. If you don't get like the necessary collectibles, you pretty much get the bad ending. If you do 100% complete it, you pretty much face off against dark matter. Yeah. Then comes Kirby Superstar, 1996. Despite it saying 8 games in 1, it's actually 9, because let me just count it off. You got Spring Breeze, which is basically Kirby's Dream Land now in living color. You got Dynablade, which pretty much sees Kirby take down a bird. Gourmet Race, where you have to race against King Dedede while also trying to eat the most food. Recurring theme. Great Cave Offensive, which sees you hunt for treasure, and there's so many like cameos and nods and references to several Nintendo franchises. Revenge of Meta Knight, the best one in my opinion, where you pretty much take down Meta Knight and his like troops from taking over Dreamland because everyone was too lazy to bother. Milky Way Wishes, which sees you travel across the galaxy, collect the stars from every fountain of dreams, and pretty much stop the sun and moon from fighting by summoning a cat clock named Nova. only to taste betrayal, another recurring theme. But there's also sub-games like Samurai Kirby, which is basically testing reflexes, Megaton Punch to see who can punch the biggest crack through the planet, and, of course, the arena. There's so many bosses, y'all. But it's also introduced the helpers. And copy ability hats, because you cannot have Kirby without copy ability hats. So pretty much like, this is pretty much to Kirby like how Link to the Past is to Legend of Zelda, in my opinion. Then Kirby's Dream Land 3, one of the last few SNES titles released in the US and the Western territories, added 3 new animal friends, Naga the cat, Choo Choo, Octopus, I think, and Pitch the bird. There's a lot of co-op where Gooey is now playable. This pretty much saw a variety of Nintendo cameos, especially with Samus from the Metroid series, and Rob. Rob is in this game. This is also known for its hand-drawn aesthetic, so yeah, take that, Yoshi's Island. You also fight this giant eyeball named Zero, and I kid you not, this is one of those games that goes against its rating, and if you've played the game, you'll see why. But with the first decade out of the way, there's more journeys ahead. Kirby 64, this is the first 3D title in the Kirby franchise. Not the first time Kirby's in 3D, he appeared in Super Smash Bros. It took inspiration from earlier appearance, then again, it allowed players to mix different copy abilities through power combos, which made for very cool abilities. It's one of the games where Kirby doesn't do his dance at the end. Tragic. But this is the final boss, Zero 2, not to be confused with the other Zero 2, wink. Okay, moving on. Kirby Nightmare Dreamland, a new take on a classic. So this is basically a remake of Kirby's Adventure. It's the first to use the new logo straight out from the anime. It's actually meant to tie into the release and introduce new sub-games, such as Air Grind, Meta Nightmare, and showcase new engine for future handheld titles, especially when you get to the DS era. And, of course, you have to fight Nightmare in this game. Hey everyone, my first game, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. This is a Metroidvania, or Kirbyvania, if you will. It's allowed for 4-player co-op through the game pack. This is one of my favorite games in the series. You collect 8 mirror shards to restore the dimension mirror. You have to save Meta Knight. This is the only game where King Dedede does not appear in any way, shape, or form. But it's also the last that involve Masahiro Sakurai, because he was like a little too tired to make sequels and having to deal with the pressure of making said sequels. But you actually fight against Dark Meta Knight and eventually Dark Mind. Just to get this out of the way, Dark Mind's theme actually slaps, and I will be danged if anyone says otherwise. Kirby Sweet Squad. This is not a bad game. This is actually a good game. This is the best game. So this is one of the earlier titles for the DS. It presented copy essence mechanics for storing items, and the bottom screen made use of ability scrolls to upgrade copy abilities. You can merge certain powers with elemental abilities, which later carry on with Star Allies, which I'm happy about. This pretty much sees you gather 120 treasure chests across 8 different levels, with the real boss being a giant star with a giant eyeball. You ever realize how many actual villains with eyeballs Kirby has to take down? Makes you wonder. Kirby Superstar Ultra. This is a remake of the original, which is actually the first game Shinya Miyazaki directed. This actually adds a new main game, aka, Revenge of King Dedede, best one. And new sub-games to the mix. This also is the game that introduced Galactonite for the first time, as well as the Max DDD battles. And just like the original, you have to take down several bosses across the game in order to receive 100% completion. It's actually a good remake, solid remake in my opinion. As for the road ahead, oh boy, we've got a lot to cover. Hey, this is the game that's getting a remake! Yeah. Kirby's Return to Dreamland. This is arguably one of the best titles I've ever got to play, despite having not owned the game because I didn't have a Wii. Pretty much saw a return to the series' side-scrolling roots where you have to navigate levels, reach a door at the end, made use of the super ability mechanics and gameplay, and if the Kirby on the cover looks familiar, this actually is the same copy ability, the super ability that appears in the Super Smash Bros. 4 and Ultimate. You have to collect 120 energy spheres to restore power to Lord Starcutter. You pretty much build on assets from the canceled Kirby GameCube network, especially in terms of stacking bosses and a lot of the elements that will later become commonplace in the more modern games. But Danity is not playable, yay! And as for the final boss, I think you know who it is. A deceptive egg. Sorry about that. Kirby Triple Deluxe. This is one of the first games for the 3DS era and makes full use of the 3DS motion controls, especially with the gyroscope controls. Gyroscope? Whatever. Allow players to alternate between foreground and back, which is a nice little mechanic just to build on the hardware. It pretty much showcased one of my favorite abilities and mechanics, Hypernova, where you pretty much think that if your normal inhale wasn't enough, get ready to inhale more environments and cause collateral damage. You collect sunstones to access each of the 7 floating islands. The opening movie was actually designed to take place straight up after Kirby Superstar, after Milky Way wishes to be exact. And the final boss is Queen Tectonia. She's actually one of my favorite boss designs in the game. I actually love her. The actual story though, especially when you get to the pause screens, it's sad. I kid you not, it is tragic. And you'll pretty much walk out feeling so bad for Taranza, trust me. Justice for the Spider Boy! Heck yeah. Kirby Planet Robobot. God save me for the amount of anime references I'm gonna mention. So basically, it presented the new Robobot mechanic, which sees Kirby pilot a giant robot. Pretty much fight against mechanized enemies in battle. You're pretty much taking down a corporation, also pretty much tackling different enemies. In game, you have to collect code cubes. This is also amiibo compatible, so there's that too. And the final boss is Star Dream. Actually has the best boss theme right up there with the other boss that you'll find out eventually. Kirby Star Allies! Arguably the best homage to the series I've ever got to play and introduced a friend heart ability, which fits because Kirby is shaped like what? A friend! Full circle moment, y'all! So the mechanic works similarly to helpers from Kirby Superstar. New and familiar characters from previous games are now playable. You can finally play as Adeline and Ribbon again. I'm so happy for that. This is the first Kirby title to have a same-day international release for the Switch, and as for the final boss in this game, it's Void. Can't believe they single-handedly gave this sort of boss design that's somehow straight out of Shadow of the Colossus, but that is a whole nother story. I actually love this game, not gonna lie. Kirby takes down a cult. Kirby in the Forgotten Land! This is it. This is the game that pretty much anyone in the fandom wanted. Anyone who knows everybody, because how long did it take for HAL to deliver a fully 3D platformer and actually get it right? Yeah, you can say that. But yeah, this is the game that showcased mouthful mode. Because if you think Supernova was crazy, well, this is pretty much taking it up a notch. It pretty much allows for new challenges through completing different objectives, which is nice. Change of pace. This also shows a brand new logo design and includes fully original music since Kirby's Squeak Squad. But as for the final boss, I am not going to spoil you on that. Make no mistake, I'm not going to spoil it. And the game that is pretty much a remake of a classic, and not too much of a classic, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe. We're getting it this year. So this is an upcoming remake. This is going to it pretty much includes previous copy abilities, the same old super abilities, but also a brand new ability called Mecha. Yes, and pretty much aka Kirby Gundam Edition. The character designs are updated to their Forgotten Land models, and especially DDD, who has like more of a drastic change from the original. Pretty much showcases showcases a lot of things that I love about it. I do hope that we get to see more of this game. Heck, they don't call it deluxe for nothing. As for the spin-offs, gosh, so many spin-offs. To get things started, there's Kirby's Pinball Land, which came out in 1983. And it pretty much is like part of several elements from HAL's previous pinball games during the 80s. Kirby's Dream Course, which was actually developed in conjunction with Earthbound. There's actually a little bit of a nod to Kirby in Earthbound, and I'm going to actually mention it near the end. It's notable for a strict anti-piracy measure that if you actually get a legal copy of it, it's literally going to just mess with you. Kirby's Avalanche, basically Puyo Puyo, Kirby edition. This is considered non-canonical because it pretty much gave us a very sass-mouthed Kirby. Why is he sassy? Why is he a sassy lost child? Why? Why Hal? There's Kirby's Block Ball, which is basically a take on Breakout. There was Kirby's Toy Box, which was released for the Stellaview satellite network and Japan. There's Kirby's Star Stacker, and of course Super Star Stacker for the Super Famicom. He pretty much like pays homage to a lot of contemporaries in the series and makes use of a set number of stars in order to advance in the game. This also has one of my favorite girls, Grill. What happened to her? What happened to her, Hal? Kirby Tilt and Tumble. I actually love this game from the Game Boy Colored. I actually remember seeing my cousin play this game and having her lose every single time. But it's actually the first Kirby title to use motion controls, and it's pretty much built around the accelerometer in the Game Boy Color, and it's also the last game to use 8-bit designs and an actual logo and the design for Kirby. Kirby Air Ride. Say what you want about the game. Drag it if it's too easy. The one saving grace is City Trial. Whether you're pretty much collecting parts for the Dragoon or the Hydra, I pretty much stuck for Dragoon. This is a game that was actually built on the same engine as Melee, right down to the sound effects. And it shows. Makes you wonder how Kirby would have been if it got the GameCube game it actually deserved. But hey, we got Forgotten Land, so that pretty much sums it up for it. Kirby Canvas Curse, which is actually one of the first games for the Nintendo DS. It introduced soul bosses for the first time, because if you think the final boss was way too easy, well, this is going to crank it up a notch. Pretty much showcase the remix version of classic Kirby music, and you're pretty much using the stylus to guide Kirby through different levels. And it also makes use of an acronym. Kirby's Epic Yarn, a very wholesome game, a ridiculously wholesome game. I think this is actually supposed to be a game called Fluff's Epic Yarn before becoming a Kirby title, but we still have Prince Fluff. This sees Kirby transform to navigate between stages. It's pretty much developed by Goodfeel, which would become the same people and team that will later work on Yoshi's Woolly World and Crafted World, which I loved. Kirby's Mass Attack. This is the last Kirby title for the DS. This sees players run through, pretty much go through the game with not one, not two, but 10 Kirbys. The more the merrier. This has several references to Kirby Right Back At You. I kid you not. Even when the game over screen, you actually see a cameo of the NME sales guy. You actually see him. Google if you don't believe me. Kirby's Dream Collection, to honor Kirby's then 20th anniversary. This pretty much introduced ports of the first 6 games, plus a new challenge stages sub-game. And pretty much you can access the timeline as well. But if you have the full edition, you actually can access the soundtrack. Kirby Fighters Deluxe, which is based on the Kirby Fighters sub-game in Triple Deluxe. you pretty much like, Kirby Smash Edition. And it was released on the same day as another game, pretty much like in the Kirby Triple Deluxe, DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe, which is basically a rhythm game. I kid you not. You see King DDD hop through drums, play a tambourine to the beat. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, a spiritual successor to Canvas Curse. It borrows several elements from Epic Yarn. I actually love it. I actually have it. I still think it's a very underrated title. It's a deep cut for me. And so many other spin-offs. Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, Kirby's Blowout Blast, Kirby Battle Royale, pretty much extra epic yarn, Super Kirby Clash, Kirby Fighters 2, which pretty much saw the ultimate Meta Knight and DDD collab we've all been waiting for. And Kirby's Dream Buffet, because if you think playing Super Monkey Ball was tough, well, this is gonna take the cake. No pun intended. Oh yeah, and that one Kirby e-reader game. Yeah, I wonder what happened to that. Beyond Dreamland is a whole nother world. Like literally, this is like the real world stuff, man. Throughout the series, this has seen numbers and numbers of manga and light novel spin-offs. Of all the things, why did they manage to license Kirby Manga Mania is beyond me. Personally, my personal favorite's the light novels from Miya Takase, which you can see in the bottom left near the books. I definitely like it. It's pretty much a neat take on Kirby, and as well as many adventures throughout the series. There's actually one of the mangas where they actually give Mark's hands. Let that sink in. Let that marinate in the back of your mind. See what you can do with it. Okay. Oh, frick! Sorry. Oh my gosh. Of course, this won't be Kirby without the iconic anime. Kirby right back at ya. This is a masterpiece, no matter what people say. It is that good of a series, and I will literally fight anyone who says otherwise. Sees Kirby, pretty much go into Dreamland, deal with the daily misadventures alongside Tiff and Tuff. So basically, Meta Knight having to stand up at a certain point at a high ground constantly. King Dedede wanting to clobber that there Kirby for his amusement, while Escargoon, being Escargoon, trying to deal with the butt of every single joke. This actually has a extra special episode that was tied into the release of Mass Attack, Kirby 3D, which sees a brand new copy ability, Kabuki Kirby. Just please watch the actual special episode if you actually have the time. Definitely mention that. Now for Smash. Kirby has been a long-time member of the OG group from the first appearance, his first 3D appearance in the first game, to how powerful he is in Melee, how he took that power away from him and gave it to Meta Knight in Brawl. The whole thing with Super Smash Bros. 4 with 3DS and Wii U era. And of course, Ultimate, or as I like to call it, rip to your mains, but I'm different. I don't care how sad you are about Link or Mario or pretty much the Inkling girl, Inkling boy, it doesn't matter to me. Kirby lived. Kirby's the real hero in this story. Pretty much leads me to believe that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the actual World of Light mode, is actually a Kirby game. When you think about it. Yeah, but this is also a series that saw so many references. Lots and lots of references. There's a reference in A Hat in Time. There's a reference in the debug mode for Earthbound. There's a reference of Kirby, aka Anti-Kirby, in Link's Awakening. In one of the one of the games from HAL, I keep forgetting its title, you can actually see two Kirbys in the background. You can actually have Kirby, Meta Knight, and Dedede in Super Mario Maker. There's a cameo of Kirby in one of the Mario and Luigi games. You can see him in Stunt Racer FX, Stunt Race FX. Part-Time UFO has a Kirby-based level. There's so many Kirby-related costumes in Yoshi's Woolly World, in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and Brilliant Diamond, and what was it, the other one? Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Yes. There's an actual guy named Roughneck Kirby, and he actually summons a Cluffy. What's up with that? Kirby is square alongside all his friends in Box Boy. And last but not least, there's Gordo's in, what was it? 6 golden coins, right? 6 golden coins. Yeah. I actually love that game. But, I forgot to mention, there is another game that actually makes nod to Kirby's Dream Land chapter select. That's basically stage select. So pretty much get that. So, any questions? None with, you in the back. Wait, Squeak Squad? The storyline for Squeak Squad, right? Okay, so the storyline for Squeak Squad is basically like Kirby having to spend a day, eating cake, but at the same time having to deal with a thief. So he's literally causing a rampage over cake. Hold on, let me just get that. Repeat the question? Yeah. Yeah, that depends, actually. That really depends. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Sorry about that. Anyone else? You? Kirby Superstar? Favorite mini boss is gonna be Heavy Lobster. I actually love Heavy Lobster's design. Yeah, I'm gonna have to really speak up. Never mind? Okay. Anyone else?
What's your favorite out of all the sub games?
Is Superstar?
Out of all the sub games, from all.
I am going to have to go for Megaton Punch. I actually like the idea of having to punch an entire crack in the planet. Like this little stubby hands. Anyone else?
What was the Earthbound reference that you're doing?
Oh, the Earthbound reference. Yeah, so just to go back a little bit. Hold on, just give me a second. Nuts. Oh my gosh. Just navigate through. So in the debug menu for Earthbound, you can actually see Kirby. Right over here. This is actually surprising considering how Kirby and Earthbound are not that different from each other. They both feature adorable protagonists that will later be voiced by Makiko Omoto in Smash. They basically have these colorful worlds. You have to go on adventures. And you pretty much defeat this sort of embodiment of darkness and malice incarnate. But it's a fun game. They're both fun games. Gotta, leave it to Hal for fun games. Yeah, it's wild. What is up with Hal? Great. Okay, so any more questions? Okay, for those in the back, can you do a favor and walk up to the front because I have really bad hearing. Favorite ability? That would have to be between. I actually said earlier it was mirror, but I also gotta mention the ESP ability. The ESP ability, especially in the recent games, notably Star Allies. I loved it. Nice little nod to Ness there. Anyone else? Oh my God. You in the blue?
Yeah. I was wondering if you're aware of there were a few educational tapes that were released involving Kirby. The one that's on the internet that gets passed around is how Kirby learns how to use a telephone.
Yes! Oh my God! Oh my God! I heard of that one. There was a fan animation on that too. You mean the one that goes moshi moshi, kabi desu? That one! I'm aware of it. Okay. Anyone else? He said it was originally Fighter, I believe. I think it was Fighter. But he pretty much like, I mean, it pretty much varies. He said it was Fighter. I'm definitely positive. Anyone else?
Which Kirby game is your favorite soundtrack?
Favorite soundtrack? Oh my. I'm a firm believer that every Kirby game has good music. But if I have to say a particular soundtrack, I'm gonna have to go between Return to Dreamland and Star Allies. I love Return to Dreamland because it has one of my favorite boss themes, Crowns. I loved Crowns. Anyone else?
Who's your favorite
Friend.
friend?
Ooh, Vividria. Vividria, the paint girl. Anyone else?
What's your favorite like old like 80s or I guess what's your favorite like old 90s Kirby commercial, TV commercial? Like there's really weird ones that don't have.
Oh my god. I feel like the one that was like released with Kirby's Adventure, with he like Yarn, but pretty much predicted like Kirby's Epic Yarn. Definitely a classic. They get sucked into the vacuum of nothingness. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, hopefully we have time. Anyone, any last questions?
What is your opinion about the difference between the Japanese happy Kirby box art and the American angry Kirby box art?
You mean Kirby's friggin' pissed? I feel like a good difference is that they pretty much want to market it towards a wider audience. They don't want it to be like, you know, kiddie fair, so it definitely goes to show that in order to make that happen, you have to give Kirby eyebrows. Okay, anyone? And last questions? Favorite character? I would have to say Meta Knight, surprisingly. Justice for the Spider. Yeah, leave it to Shinya Kumazaki to actually shove so much lore in pause screens about your favorite limbless antagonists. Okay, any last questions, please? Okay, I can't see, okay, yeah? Original monster. From the anime. Oh my god, it's been so friggin' long.
No man.
Sure, tornadoes. Whatever. Why not? Oh my god, what? Sorry. Oh, sorry about that, y'all. Okay, if we don't have any more questions, it's 8:08, and it's time for a quiz! 10 questions, 10 prizes. I'm pretty much gonna start easy and end it hard. Kind of like the Soul Melter EX thing from Star Allies. So, here we go. Yeah, y'all better raise your hand for this, okay? No, question number 1. Who is the creator of Kirby? You in pink hat. Okay, good start. Come on up and take your pick. Take your pick. Take your pick.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. Yes. Yes, take your photo. Okay, hold on.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, número 2. What ship does Meta Knight have? Okay. You. Yes.
The Halberd.
Correct. Yeah. Take your pick.
Fire Kirby.
Yeah. Solid choice. Okay. Number 3. I'm pretty much going to speed through this. Okay. All right, what are the 2 copy abilities that appear as the final smash for Kirby in Brawl, Super Smash Bros. 4, and Ultimate? Okay, you.
In Brawl is cook, where you can cook, and before an ultimate was Italian sword.
What is it called, though?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Anyone else? You. Yes. Yes. And what was the other one? Okay. Actually, I'm gonna give both of y'all a chance. So, both of you, come on up. No hate among friends. Yeah. Sure. No problem. Sure, take a sip. All right. That leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more questions. Okay, I'm pretty much gonna brainstorm a good one. All right. All right. Who is the recent director of the Kirby franchise? You? Yes. Okay. Whether what are you saying? Like last name first, first name last. Doesn't matter. It's still the same. Take one, please. Trying to come up with no problem. Okay. All right. So another one. So okay, we have 5 more left. So I pretty much lose track sometimes. Okay, next question. Name 2 of the legendary air ride machines in Kirby Air Ride. You in a hat. Nailed it! Yes! Okay. Take one. The hat. Solid choice. Solid choice. Okay, next question. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm trying to think of a very good and very hard question. Okay. How many episodes does the Kirby anime have? You and the Hollow Knight hat. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Are you really, really sure? It's like deleting your save file. Are you really sure you want to go for that?
It's my gut instinct. That's the problem.
Plus the special episode, but still. Come on up. Yeah, it's really good. Okay, next question. I'm trying to spice things up a bit. Ah, my gosh. Name all of the acronyms in some of the Kirby games, at least some of them. 3 acronyms, 3 acronym-based titles, or that pretty much contributed to the boss. Okay, just to paraphrase, name a particular acronym that appears in Planet Robobot. You got it. All right. 2 more left. Okay, Okay, this is going to be an industry-based question. Who are the original 2 composers for Kirby? You in the yellow. You got it! Come on up! There's one more left, and surprisingly, it's Tornado Kirby. This is it, y'all. This is really happening. Okay. I'm trying to think of a very, very good one. Yeah, okay, I got one. So, all right, who is the villain? Name all the villains you have to take down in Star Allies. Bosses, yes! You have to raise your hand, Via. What are their names, though? What are their other names? Yes? Sure. We know. Yeah, you can just go for that. Come on. Flamberge. You still got it. You still got it. You tried it. Come on. Yes. Thank you. Well, it's 8:17, so despite the early, pretty much, leaving it early. That is it for